Hey guys, welcome to the Defender User Group. This is session 3, and I've seen that we have a pretty good bit of people in attendance today. We'll have to go through and remind everybody of the Chatham House rules. That participants are free to use the information that they receive, but neither the identity nor the affiliation of the speakers nor any other participant may be revealed. Uh, Kind of an intro to the group if you're new. This is a community-driven Defender user group that is to help provide real-world experiences related to Microsoft Defender, along with the other Microsoft security products, and also be a comprehensive security solution for protecting endpoints, identities, and information. If you would like to become a member of the group, I want to leave the QR code up for a little bit and let everybody have a chance to actually scan. Uh, just to be able to go find us on LinkedIn and kind of join the group. That way you can post questions and really start chatting with other professionals in the same realm as you. And after this, Wafa, if you will put the poll up, then we'll go through the content from there.
Sure.
I guess got some a couple of polls to get us started today. One of those is, have you tested Copilot for security? Submit your answers and kind of see if this is a subject everybody would like to take on from a um, Defender user group perspective. I know Security for Copilot, it was a brand new tool from Microsoft. Reminds me of the Terminator personally, but what everybody kind of see what they want to say. Wafa, if you can post the other question we have as well.
Yep.
And then access management is it important? So let us know your feedback. We know that we've had a couple of questions from the first two sessions around a little bit more deep dive into intro. So if you guys can actually go through and answer those, that'd be great. All right. That is awesome. All right. And guys, if you need to contact us for any reason, please see the email that's on the screen. That is for Wafa, our lovely person that helps orchestrate all of this, and she will be happy to take and help field any kind of questions as far as becoming a speaker of the Defender user group or content that you may want to help present and stuff, which would be great to have some community feedback. At this time, I would like to present our speaker of the day, which is Asael Baez, and look forward to hearing what he's bringing to the table. Asael, it's over to you, bud.
All right. Sounds good. Just want to make sure that everyone could hear me okay. Thumbs up. Excellent. All right. So, again, welcome. Thank you so much for having me on Continue. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's an honor to present. So, just a little bit about me. I do like I would say flying, which is aviation. And one of the things that motivates me is that you can see, the world from a different perspective. And today, I actually want to talk about having that proactive mindset. Um, and I would say also in aviation, you have to be proactive because you want to, they say, be ahead of the airplane, meaning you want to know what needs to happen next. And also in cybersecurity, it relates very clearly that we want to know what do we need to do next in case something happens. So as you're flying an airplane, you may want to have, when I say may, is because sometimes you cannot see the ground if you're flying at night, but you want to have a place if something goes wrong to land in cybersecurity or in IT. As we know, most of the time things don't go as expected. Something breaks and you don't know what to do. So that's kind of like what happens most of the time. And feel free if you have any questions to put them in the chat or raise your hand and feel free to interrupt. This will be kind of an interactive session. So we're going to just go over a few things and basically having that proactive mindset. We say that yes, we need to be proactive, but sometimes we're not proactive enough to address the issues, and we know that threats are very sophisticated nowadays, and even 2FA is being bypassed in some of these things that we've seen out there. So it's really something that we want to address. So again, I have a background about 9 years in cybersecurity. I started in the networking side, which is a good background to have, and then went to the SOC, and then as a IT security manager for a company, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And currently, an IT security manager, and we have Ontinio as a partner, and they have been very helpful, as you guys may know. And even putting this together, it's something that helped us also. We'll be talking about the deception feature in Microsoft Defender, as well as enabling IDO isolation and their why. And then CISA resources that pertain to the NIST framework, and any final tips or questions that you guys may have. So again, if any questions, feel free to interrupt. Okay. So as far as Defender, what is the deception? So the deception feature will create, if you enable it, will create a server or a account that an attacker could see as valuable. You could name it as could be like backup or HR documentation, things of that nature. And then once you enable it, then if an attacker gets into your environment, you will be able to see alerts pertaining to that fake server, and then from there you could take proactive actions, which I think it's great. And I'll put here in the chat where that is located. That way you could enable that if you have that feature on your system, so on your environment. Let me just see here. All right. So yeah, you will go to settings and then endpoints and then deception rules. And then from there you could create, again, fake accounts. You could create your own, or you could use the ones that Microsoft recommend, and or servers, like you mentioned. You want to name in something that an attacker may want to go after, like you mentioned, backups or PII information and things of that nature. All right. So basically, the way it works is that an attacker here will try to gain access to the systems, and then if isolation is enabled on that device, then the device will be isolated. You get an alert, and pretty much you can eradicate there. But if it's not, then most likely they'll go to try to get the dumps of the passwords and using the tracking tool from there to try to get lateral movement and access the data, which is what we don't want. So if we have this enabled, then we could get an alert, and then from there start the isolation or investigation and make sure that they don't get into our environment any further. I do see that Joe has a question, so go ahead, Joe. Give me
I
your hand.
apologize. I apologize. I hit that by accident.
Okay, yeah, no worries. So again, we want to make sure that if that feature is enabled and if there is not any additional cost, And if you have a E5 license, you should be able to enable that. So we'll go about the benefits of doing that. So the early detection, like I mentioned, it'll provide you with the early alert. And then once the alert comes up, it's going to say, detection based on the server that you created or the account that you created. And that gives you a hint. All right, so this is a real attack, but at the same time, it's not something that I should worry too much about it because real data or access to a real system has not been granted yet, or I wouldn't say granted, but compromised. And then it's going to be a high confidence alert in the sense that most likely it's going to be a human operated attack. And at the same time, you'll be able to see that they have tried to access that fake server or honeypot or decoy as Microsoft would call it, and then from there you could eradicate that account that is trying to access that server, or at the same time try to isolate that device that they're trying to get us from. So we could see the attacker visibility, so we'll be able to see exactly what they're doing and the things that they're trying to do with that fake server or account, and then from there be able to assess what needs to happen next. We could prevent the disruption from production systems by using those fake devices that we have. And again, as I mentioned, it's very easy to do in the sense that very easy to enable. We just have to go to settings, then endpoints and deception rule, and then from there create our decoys. So any questions before the next slide? There's a question, Daniel, that says, will continue handle the deceptions alert for you? Not sure if you want to answer that.
Yeah, I'll answer that one. Do you want to answer? There was another question right before it that says if a new option is not present for licensing, what settings need to be changed and stuff, or what license is the setting under? It's the E5 license, just to let everybody know, or the E5 security license.
Yes, the E5 license, I'm pretty sure that's what's required as far as I know. Yeah, so do you want to answer that second question?
It's the so we do handle the deception alerts for you as part of the defender piece. Just to let you guys know. So anything that's actually coming from Defender, any of the Defender suite itself was actually goes in through the system when we handle those alerts.
Yeah,
triage, including the deception.
Yep.
Great. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, and I would say too that depending on the access that you give to continue, as far as what actions they need to take, it's good depending on your environment, how many people you have in your team. If they have the ability to, isolate a device, and one of the penetration tests that we had here, we didn't let them know that we were doing it, and they saw those actions that were happening really malicious per se, and they were able to take action on our behalf and isolated the device, and obviously gave us a call to find out what was going on or triage. So just want to make sure that if they get an alerts and you guys provide them, look, you could do this much, then they'll make sure to do that as well. So all right, so I think it's poll time. Let's see what we have now. So the question is, what is the first action that you would take if a device is affected by ransomware? All right, so we'll give a few more seconds to get a few more answers. So I'm looking at the responses, and They look really, really, really good. All right, so 10 more seconds. If you haven't put your answer in there, you got 5 more seconds to do it. All right, awesome. So if you've responded, throw the towel and call my mommy. That's actually the right response, right? Just kidding. So as we see here, we want to isolate the device, and it it's kind of like common sense that we want to do that. So the backup there, that'll be a little bit too late. And contact law enforcement will come after that we have isolated the device in investigation has happened. You definitely don't want to shut down the device because then you won't be able to get the data that you need for forensics. And on top of that, I was chatting with someone, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and they actually got hit. Um, and one of the managers there mentioned, "Hey, I'm seeing this ransomware note on this device. What should I do?" And they said, "Oh, shut down all the devices." And unfortunately, that is the wrong approach. They shut down the device while the ransomware script was running, which was encrypting the data, right? As they did that, that data got corrupted. They actually paid for a key and they couldn't decrypt the data because it was corrupted, which that is, in my opinion, the worst that could happen. So all their systems were down for weeks, probably about a month and a half. And you can imagine how much money they lost. So that company right now, it's after about a year and a half, they are either considering shutting down or they are considering being bought by another company to help them assess or alleviate all the burdens that they have because they couldn't invoice, they couldn't chip. I mean, as you may know, this is detrimental, and this happens because we are not careful educating our users. And as you may know, 92% of the ransomware attacks that would come. Oh, going back to the slide here, sorry. So yeah, you would need the E5 license there. So as we go into defending our environment, we need to understand that the most important thing that we could do is educate our users because a user clicks on an email, they provide credentials, the credentials get leaked, um, they 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 get sold on the dark web, and usually the attackers would try to get into our network. So again, isolating the device becomes the the main the main choice or the best option on those type of scenarios. So why do we have to wait till we get to investigate instead of having a automation to make that happen? So this is what usually happens. Um, all right, so I do see a couple of questions. Let's Daniel, if you don't mind helping out here, or let me go through this. Sorry, let me go through this and then we'll address them there, Charlie. So usually what happens is we have a device, right, that becomes isolated, and if we are not enabling data isolation, this is usually what could happen. So again, I was working for Brentag years ago when this happened, and I have gone through the nightmare of being hit by ransomware, and it's not a funny scenario. I cannot say much because, as you may know, we have an NDA. But what I could say is we have to be proactive, and we have to do what we have to be. We have to be in that scenario to make sure that we could make sure that if a device becomes infected, that we could take action. And if we cannot take action, we let the auto isolation happen. So detection time is key. How quickly can we isolate that device? And it happens within minutes. Once they get in, they could, escalate. They would examine your company. They know what type of tools you're using, and they know how to bypass your security tools. As you may know, they work this full time, and that's why companies that are large and have millions of dollars in investment in security, they get breached constantly, unfortunately, and it shouldn't be that way. So isolating the infected device quickly is again crucial to prevent the spread. So, all right, let me address some of the questions, Daniel, if you don't mind helping me out.
They're already addressed and keep on going.
Okay, perfect. So
Take care of all of them.
very good. So again, the approach that we currently have and that we should change is we get the alert, then we investigate, then we isolate. The approach that I would submit to you for us to have is once we get an alert, apply idle isolation and then investigate. And you may say, wait, what about if it's a false positive? What about the production systems? I mean, you have to balance um, what type of risk are you willing to take? Do you want to isolate a production system and then say, hey, it was a false positive, let's bring it back online? Or you want to investigate and then find out that it's too late for things to be remediated and, working long hours, possibly millions of dollars to get the systems back online. It's not a fun scenario. So I would say make sure that you have the backup from top management to change this mindset and start isolating automatically. Because once the device becomes infected, isolation is the next step. We don't want to investigate and isolate. We want isolation and then investigation. So I want to also mention that the idle isolation should only happen in devices that are high or critical infected, meaning we don't want to isolate medium alerts and we don't want to isolate low alerts. So isolate things that are really high confidence of alerts that you're getting, in the sense of there is a 90% chance that this device has been compromised. And during our pen testing that we had, we proved that the importance of this. And going back to the scenarios that I have seen, and probably that you have seen also in the future, in the past, you could have known that if that device was isolated, then you wouldn't have any issues. And you may say, okay, let's just isolate the workstations. That's a great idea, but the attackers, they're going to go after the production servers, after the servers. And that's also what you want to isolate if there is any high confidence malicious activity going on in that environment. Um, all right. Am I okay to go on? Any questions? Good. So this is again what usually happens. The users doing their work, they're using their computer. Um, Unfortunately, the user doesn't get trained, doesn't there's no follow-up on the training that they take. They do not fully understand how to spot a phishing email. Um, Again, detection is key. If the user doesn't know how to spot a phishing email, we could say, well, it's the user's fault. It's actually in two faults. It's the user's fault, yes, because they should know and they should take the training. But as a security professionals, we want to follow up and make sure that they know. Not only, okay, well, they took the training. Are they taking the training on one screen and working on the other one? Or are they really understanding how to spot a phishing email? What's the rate? What's the the percentage once you send a simulation emails, which we should be sending constantly to see the rate of they clicking emails on the links as well as providing credentials. And if you are on top of things as we should, then you're gonna see that constantly they're gonna be sending emails because that is the most effective way for them to get access to our systems. So, um, so they get they're working on the computers and on their system, and then that system is connected to the rest of the network via VPN or working, um, in on site, and then they click on an email, their device becomes infected. If we apply the IDO isolation, the attacker is going to take care or take hold of that device, and then once that activity is high with confidence, then we're going to block access and isolate pretty much this device, and that's pretty much what we want. And then from there, there's pretty much nothing else that they could do because they have been isolated. And then what should happen next is that we get engaged here. We don't want to have the device isolated or infected, I should say, and then we engage after the entire network has been infected. That would be the wrong approach, and that is not a proactive approach. And again, we may have to get buy-in from management and say, look, these are the options that we have. What do you want to do? Instead of us saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. We need to tell them and have the business make this decision and say, this is what I suggest. What do you want to do? That way, if something happens, it's not going to fall on us. It's going to fall on them for, to make those type of recommendations. And this again may be something that we have to bring up a couple times, but we want to let them make the decision and say, this is in numbers. This is how much we could lose if our network becomes compromised. If a device becomes isolated and it's a false positive, this is how much we could lose, and do the math for them. That way, we could be in per se safe, if that makes sense, because we know that when things happens, they're gonna look at us, and we don't want to be in the position to say, well, we could have done this, and it's just not acceptable. So going back to this, I want to reiterate, um, time is crucial. We want to set up idle isolation. So I do have this, which is a little script, which I'll also post or paste here in our chat, and I'm going to. This is we can enable this via Sentinel. I would suggest for you to enable this and work with your admins to ensure that you're able to take advantage of the idle isolation. And I'll go through it as far as what it means and how it could be set up. So basically, here says 5 minutes ago, any device that was a high that has a high alert, pretty much that host. So a high alert attached to a host, then all the way to 20 devices in the last hour isolate. So we set up to 20 because we didn't want the whole network isolated. I mean, if 20 devices get isolated, then we know that really something has happened because it has to have a high alert here. So um, you could use that script, and then from there you want to have it isolated. And this script runs, you could set it to run every 10 minutes, every 20 minutes, every 5 minutes. And then if a device becomes has a high alert, that script is going to run, and then it's going to automatically isolate it, and then from there you can investigate. Now, the two things, and probably you guys could help me with that and help me with this and help the whole community is I am missing an email that is sent. So we know we'll get the email saying high alert this device. Most likely we know that this device is going to get isolated because we've seen it throughout the years and months that we have enabled this. But still, I still like to get an email confirming that it has been isolated. So within the script, I like to do that. I honestly haven't gotten the chance to do that. So that's something, a little homework for us to do, and then post in the chat and the LinkedIn channel there, how we can make that happen. The other thing that I like to fix is sometimes a user will click on a link and it's a high confidence. It went to that link, but the connection was blocked and that device is still isolated, usually a workstation. Um, I still prefer to be isolated because then we could take that user and show them, look, this is what you caused by not looking and taking the time to check the email, and you kind of decipher what happened. Um, that's kind of like a approach, an aggressive approach, I would say. Um, Another option that we could say is if it's if they click on a link, they went to the link, but the link was blocked, generate the alert, don't isolate the device, and that from there we could re-educate the user. But I have found that once the device becomes isolated, let's face it, the user becomes a little bit scared and they go like, what just happened? And then they'll call IT and then we'll explain to them what happened. So again, depending on your environment and what you want to do, that's something that I'll leave for you to decide. But again, as far as the alert, let's work together on that. All right. So again, that's the script. There is no additional sensors. If you have Sentinel, that's something that you could enable on your environment there. All right. So we have another poll time. So this is a very easy one. Which are the countries most affected by ransomware attacks? We'll just give a couple more seconds. If you haven't responded, please do. And I do remember um, many years ago, I was in a class and this question, similar question came up, such as like, which country is the one that gets, which countries get more attack? Um, and so I'm pretty sure most of you know where Cuba is, but um, Cuba doesn't get many attacks because they don't get many connections to the internet. Is very well restricted, as you may know. So the answer to the question, yes, U.S. is definitely on top of the line, as well as UK and Germany. And why would this be? Because I mean these three countries, that's where most of the money is on these companies. Now there's also been an increase as well in India, meaning there's a lot of disruptive things going on in there. And again, it goes back to, and I hope that none of us we have to go through to a ransomware attack, because again, it's really mentally, at least, we have a lot of pressure already going through that. It's really rough, but the idle isolation, I think I would like to stress that it's I guess one of the best ways for us to defend from it. So um, all right, so I want to briefly talk about, and this would apply to mainly the U.S., but as well as the Europe folks. We have CISA, which is the Cyber Infrastructure Agency, And they do have cyber advisors that could help us, address some of the concerns and things that in our companies, such as they're able to do table talk exercises, review our incident response plan. And if we don't have a big budget or a lot of people, a lot of arsenal for us to defend ourselves, they are a great resource to at least tell us steps and things, action items or things that we need to do. They also have a biweekly threat call or cyber threat call, which happens on Thursdays, 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. And they talk a lot of things about usually about China and Russia is doing and things of that nature. But they also talk about, what vulnerabilities and how to remediate them, as well as recommendations for us to as cyber professionals to apply to our environment. So these are some of the things that definitely I would recommend you to participate on. This is their email. And again, they do offer preparedness assessment, which I'll talk a little bit more about, resources, working with group. And this is especially if your company is part of the critical infrastructure, as they would call it. And if you were working during COVID time, that means that you're part of that. So, and also leadership. Again, I do have a great partnership with them as far as meetings and security awareness and things that they could help us out a lot. So here also you could download a doc as far as how to secure and using Microsoft Defender, how to set up a baseline for your systems there as well. Okay. So basically, this is kind of like my security advisor. I just sent him an email this morning about it to see which would be the best way to connect the people within our regions. And you could go to this website here, but he also mentioned that you could contact him directly and use this over here as a subject. That way, he will direct you to the right resource. Sometimes, if you connect with him, it may be a little bit faster than connect him, as he will be able to kind of present you or introduce you to wherever region you are on. So, again, they have been a great resource. I had him here. I would say probably 4 times already, and it has given us great advice as far as what they have seen in other places, what other places are doing, and also how to prevent some of the crazy stuff that that they've seen out there. All right, so they also have a tool, a tool that is actually really valuable. And what it does is you are able to do your own assessment. And as you may know, once you go to a company, you want to start an assessment to see where they're at. This would be, I guess, the best tool to do this, and it's free. Well, I wouldn't say free. So we as taxpayers are paying for it. But what I'm saying is you want to make sure that you download this tool, and they have also ransomware readiness assessment. So you answer quite a few questions depending on how deep you want to go, and then it's going to tell you how ready you are to protect your company from a ransomware. They also have frameworks if you want to make sure where you fall as far as the NIST 853 framework or NIST 2. You want to be able to set up the assessment that way. And it's a lot of questions depending on how deep you want to go. But once you finish, then you're able to tell, okay, this is where I'm at. And basically, this is what it can do. So it could provide recommendations, and it'll also provide you with a report and a baseline. So you could do one this year, and then next year you want to do the same assessment, and then it could tell you how the improvements that you have made. And I find it to be a great tool. And again, it's free. And there are companies that unfortunately pay for this and they don't know that this CSET is available. So you could download it from their website there. And again, it's mainly questions. And the approach that I have taken when doing this is that I would usually take I wouldn't say it's kind of like a safe approach. So let's say if we don't know if everything that all the environment that we have is encrypted, then I would put a note to unless I know for sure that everything is encrypted. So I take an approach that it's in the sense what's the word that I'm looking for, that it's more, it's gonna make me do more work to ensure that that answer is a yes instead of guessing. So again, this is a free tool, and this is how it looks like. So you would answer some of these questions here. You could, say yes or no. I grabbed this screenshots from the website, by the way. And then if you say no, then, it's kind of like put it in a different category. NA doesn't apply. And then here you could put some of the comments that you want to. You could also flag it to go back to it if you don't have the information already available. This is pretty much what's going to tell you. So if you answer no, then you're going to see here. Obviously, you want to see as many yes as you can, depending on the questions. Again, it's a great tool. I would suggest to download that. And that's actually all I had. So if you have any questions, you could bring them on now, and I will pass it to you guys.